it's Asha Bookishram, and I'm here with another video. Today I am going to be doing my mid-month wrap-up for the month of May. Okay, so already in the month of May I have read 25 different things. I say different things because some of these things are single-issue comics, some of them are regular comic trade bind-ups. I have novellas on here, so I just read 25 things so far in the month of May, which is pretty ridiculous. It's just straight crazy. It's bonkers. So we're gonna go ahead and jump in. Remember, for my mid-month wrap-ups, I typically don't do any form of stats. I usually save that for my end of the month, where I talk about how many pages I read and the genres and all that good jazz, all those numbers that you guys like to see. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the first 25 things that I have read. So the first thing that I read in the month of May, or that I finished in the month of May, was Sugar Butter Flower Love, and this was a novella by Nicole Falls. I've been trying to read a lot more of Black contemporary authors that I find on Kindle Unlimited, and Nicole Falls has quickly and easily become one of my favorites. As you guys know, in the month of March I read quite a few of her books and novellas that she has out. She doesn't write full-length books, she only writes novellas, but they're all pretty good. This one is about two characters who used to go to high school together. They're enemies, not friends at all, and one is a baker, one was supposed to be, is aspiring to be a famous sports analyst after he ends up leaving the NFL, and they both enter this baking competition together, and they kind of have to navigate working with each other and winning this competition, and a romance ensues and builds, and it was just the cutest novella. I've been looking for a lot more romance that features food aspects. I really like foodie romances, and this one definitely hit the spot. Nicole was actually doing a giveaway on her Instagram or she was showcasing that she had free novels available through Kindle every day for an entire week, and this is one of those that I snagged. I wish I would have hopped on the other ones, but I did really end up enjoying this one, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The next one that I ended up reading was actually another foodie type romance, and it was The Cake King by Rosie Chase. This is the first book in the Sugar and Spice series. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It was just not my favorite. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. It is a baking competition, and our female lead ends up entering this baking competition after they reach out to her. She can't figure out why they reach out to her, because she's worked in this small kind of mom and pop type restaurant as their pastry chef for an extensive period of time. She has a rough background, and then she ends up meeting our male lead. If y'all can't tell, I'm horrible with names, so when I say female male lead, it's because names, I always remember plots, but names just kind of, they just go over my head. But they end up meeting, and the male lead is a wealthy individual. He's the one that's running this competition. He's running it on his sister's behalf in order for her to have a cake designed for her wedding. And the really awkward part about this book for me was that the female character constantly was obsessed with him having money, and she used that as an excuse not to deal with him, and it was super frustrating. Even after he showed her time and time again, like, hey, you know, my money is my money, but it doesn't really mean anything to me. Like, this is not why I do what I do. I built this up from the bottom up. Sure, I have money, but I don't flaunt it. And she still just wouldn't let it go, and it was really frustrating to get those parts. She was self-deprecating, and it was just hard to read through some of those aspects of the book. So that's why I only ended up giving it 3 out of 5 stars, because other than that I did enjoy it, but it wasn't my favorite. The next thing that I read is a graphic novel, and this is part of DC Zoom's showcasing for trying to attract younger readers, more specifically middle grade readers, and it's DC Superhero Girls Volume Number 1, Final Crisis. So this actually encompasses several different female leads from the DC line, and so the characters that we see include Wonder Woman, Batgirl, Supergirl, Harley Quinn, Bumblebee, Poison Ivy, and Katana. And what ends up happening is we see them all going to the school together. They're supposed to be completing this project or their final assessment as they attended the superhero school, and then all of a sudden weird things start happening to each one of the girls, and we have to figure out who it is that's committing all these crimes. And honestly, it was kind of obvious who did it, but of course I'm an older reader. I knew that this wasn't marketing to my age group. I do question who they were marketing this to, because it says ages 8 through 12, but it slightly reads for a younger audience, like even like 6, 7-ish if you have an advanced reader. The artwork was gorgeous. I love the artwork. I like the story even though it was slightly predictable, but it is a series that I'm interested in continuing because I have access to all the volumes through my library subscription to Hoopla, so I probably will be reading most of them, but I do think they read at a slightly younger audience, and I ended up giving this one 3 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I read was another middle grade graphic novel, and it is Clique by Kayla Miller. This was one that I read on a whim because I knew that the second one, Camp, had just come out recently, and I always look for new middle grade, comics or middle grade graphic novels to read because I like reading comics and graphic novels across a wide variety of age groups, and Clique just did not do it for me. Clique is essentially about a girl named Olive. She's in middle school. She has a wide variety of friends, different groups, and then they have this 5th grade, so she's not middle school, she's in elementary school. They have this 5th grade showcase, and everybody teams up into different groups, and they want to do all these amazing things, and Olive just doesn't get asked to be a part of anyone's group, and it touches on what it means to be a part of a clique, which I did enjoy. I thought that this is great for kids who are navigating, especially like late elementary, middle school-ish age. You're navigating what it means to be a part of a clique, and that it's okay not to be a part of a clique. I was that type of person where I never was a part of a clique per se, kind of bounce around from group to group, but sometimes that can be kind of hard for kids to understand, so I liked it in that aspect. But I did not like the relationship between Olive and her mother. Her mother was very overwhelming, very controlling, did not want Olive to figure things out on her own, which I get as a mom myself, but it was just too much. Even when Olive makes the final decision about what she wants to do for the showcase, her mom is totally against it, which makes absolutely no sense. And then she blames her sister, who's Olive's aunt, for encouraging her to be different. And I'm kind of like, why would you be upset at someone encouraging your child to be different? So that really bothered me, and there was like no redemption from that whole conversation and situation that happened. So I only ended up giving that one 3 out of 5 stars. The next thing that I read was a picture book that I actually got sent by Random House. Thank you to Random House for sending me a copy of this picture book, and it is To the Moon and Back for You by Emily Serhant, I believe that's how you say her name. And it is a picture book that talks about the fertility process a little bit, not so much in explicit terms, but it is about a mother's love for her child even when her child was difficult to conceive. And I ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. A lot of the critiques that I saw of this book were that it was too difficult, a child wouldn't react positively to hearing that they were, difficult to conceive, and that it would be detrimental to the child's psyche. And I think that in those criticisms, people often forget, like, picture books don't just have to be used for kids that are in between the ages of 2 to 6 or 2 to 5, whatever. They can be used for older kids. Like, picture books can even be used for kids in high school. So I think that in reading this picture book, you have to consider the age group and then also consider how it could be used. And I wholeheartedly believe that this is a picture book that can be used for an older age group, and it is a quite effective way to explain the fertility process and understand that even though mom or whoever had to go through these special navigations in order to have you, they still love you no matter what. And I really enjoyed the artwork. It's really whimsical, looked like it was done in watercolor, but I look forward to seeing what else this author does end up putting forward. And like I said, I ended up giving that one 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. I'm not going to say anything about this book. I have done a full spoiler-free review of it. I did end up giving it 5 out of 5 stars, and I will link my full review in the description cards above. I say description cards, but I mean in the card symbol above. The next thing that I read was The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This was nominated as one of the BookTube SFF awards, so I decided to pick it up and read it. I've been trying to read as many of those as possible, but I'm so I'm so far gone and so behind, it's ridiculous. The 10,000 Doors of January has gotten really, really high praise. 10,000 Doors of January is about a character by the name of January who finds this door that leads her to other worlds. And it is a story of her journey, and then there's a story within a story. And it really touches on the beauty of storytelling and the beauty of familial relationships. But it was not a hard hit emotional book for me. It's not that I didn't enjoy it or that I didn't love the writing, but I just didn't get the emotional response that everybody else seemed to get. So I wasn't invested in it. And I know Bree from Bree Hill, we had talked a little bit, and she told me when I was talking about it in a vlog, she told me that she only listened to a certain percentage and then she had to put it down. And I'm kind of the same way. Like, I finished it, but it wasn't for me. It's not a bad book at all, but I could only give it 3 out of 5 stars because I just didn't enjoy it. It wasn't a book that was written for me. I did enjoy the historical references, especially the literary historical references. I found those to be phenomenal, but it just wasn't the book for me. So with that being said, I know that's an extremely unpopular opinion, but I just couldn't, I didn't enjoy it, so I only ended up giving it 3 stars. The next things I read were the final 3 volumes of Paper Girls. So that's Paper Girls Volume 4, Paper Girls Volume 5, and Paper Girls Volume 6. So I am not going to talk about this at all either. I definitely did a full non-spoiler review of the entire series. I love the series. It is so great. I wish there were more volumes, but there aren't any more volumes. Brian K. Vaughan did a fantastic job with this series. If you are interested in science fiction comic books, check this one out, and I will link my full review in the card symbol above. I did give Paper Girls Volume 4 4 stars. I gave Volume 5 4 stars, and I ended up giving Volume 6 4 stars as well. Okay, so if you guys didn't know, I've been on this complete and interesting journey of trying to read like all of these Marvel comics, and I'm doing it by year, and this is called My Marvelous Year, and it is hosted by the Comic Book Herald. He's been doing this for a while. They have already made it all the way through the 2000s. It's just something that I found recently that I'm really interested in because I wanted to delve further into Marvel comics because I read a lot of DC, and I always thought that Marvel was just more difficult to read, and it's not. He's made it really, really efficient by going through and picking out the most important issues from every single year of every single decade up into the 2000s. And I have finished the years 1961, 1962 go together, and I have finished all of those. So in the month of May, I have already read a certain amount of these issues, and I'm not going to delve into any of these issues. I'm just going to tell you the names and show you the covers, but I'm not going to talk about them at all because I will be uploading a recap and wrap up of my experience reading through the issues for 1961 and 1962, and that will go up on my channel. So if you want to know more, I would definitely suggest checking it out. It'll be up after this video, so you won't see it until a few days from now, but it will be posted. So this month I did read The Incredible Hulk issue number 1, Fantastic Four issue number 4, Journey into Mystery issue number 83, Tales to Astonish issue number 35, Fantastic Four issue number 5, Journey into Mystery issue number 85, Fantastic Four issue number 3, Fantastic Four issue number 6, Fantastic Four issue number 7, Fantastic Four issue number 8, and Fantastic Four issue number 9. So like I said, I will be doing a full wrap up of those. If you're interested, definitely check out that video. It'll be out later on this week. So the next thing that I ended up reading was Half-Blood by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the first book in the Covenant series. I have already read this book, and I gave it 3 stars when I first read it several years ago, more like 4 or 5 years ago. I reread it, and I once again gave it 3 stars. It is definitely written for a younger teen audience. This is classic YA, paranormal, tropey, instantaneous romance, teenage angst, and I'm not gonna knock it down any stars for that because I definitely think it is a work of its time. I don't think it would hold up today necessarily or compete with what's on the market right now, but I did appreciate it for what it was and how it was written for the time that it was published. So basically Half-Blood is about this girl named Alex who is a half-blood, and she leaves the Covenant because she is taken away by her mother for some odd reason. She doesn't know why. After a series of events, her mother ends up, and this is not a spoiler, this is really just in the beginning of the book, she ends up in a situation where her mom gets killed by a demon, and then she has to return to the Covenant, and she has to stand before her uncle and her stepfather, who are basically saying, like, you should be signed away, you need to be, you know, made a slave to pure. So there's a difference between half-bloods and pures. So we'll start at how both of them kind of come about. Hematoids are what happens when there's a union between gods and mortals. So hematoids for me were easy to understand when I thought about it in terms of Percy Jackson. So if I took Percy Jackson and put him into this world, he would be considered a hematoid because he is the union of Triton, or Poseidon, not Triton. Triton is the different name, Roman. But he's the union between Poseidon and his mother. So that makes him a hematoid. You end up getting a pure blood when you have a hematoid and a hematoid have kids, and then you get a half-blood when a hematoid mates with a mortal. So Alex is actually a half-blood, and they don't get a lot of respect. They're not well liked. They're looked down as lesser than. Pures are the ones that they're supposed to protect. Pures are the ones that have all the luxuries, and because she's a half-blood, if she breaks the rules of the Covenant, usually what they do is they inject them with something and they become like these brainless slaves. So when she goes back, that's kind of what she's threatened with, but then they make an arrangement to say that she actually can end up being trained by Aiden, who's a pure-blood, and of course they have some kindling romance, even though half-bloods and pure-bloods are not supposed to be together. It's so much angst, and there's a lot that goes on in this. Like I said, I just thought it was okay. It was just okay. But I do know that when I read the second one, which is Pure, I ended up liking it better because I thought the writing improved and the character development was better. So I'm thinking that may be the same thing when I go and I read Pure again this time. So we'll see what ends up happening. Like I said, 3 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was a book that I got for review, and it was Salt and Stilettos by Janet Walden West. This was such a cute romance. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It is about she's like a personality fixer-upper. She's not a personality fixer-upper, but she's like a publicist who intervenes on the behalf of different clients to make them look better publicly. And she meets with this top chef named Will, and Will is a hot mess. Like, he's a sweetheart, but he's a hot mess. He doesn't really know how to function in the industry. He doesn't know how to hone in on his skills in a public setting. He's just messy. So she comes in to save the day, and by the way, her name is Brett. I remember their names because I just loved them. Brett comes in and saves the day, and of course there's a romance that ensues, but Brett has been through some really difficult things, and Will is just the motivator, the encourager, her spirit animal, everything that she needs all wrapped into one. Will is my book boyfriend. I don't know if I've ever seriously had one, but Will is it. Like, I don't care what anybody says. He's my book boyfriend. He is amazing. This book had great representation or diversity. Will is Samoan. There's great socioeconomic diversity, and it just was a excellent book. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. If you've never heard of it, I definitely would recommend checking it out as soon as you get a chance. So the last 2 books that I read before I'm filming this as of today were both dark romances. So I'm not a all-knowing one when it comes to romance. I am a newbie at this. I am just exploring, seeing what I like, what I don't like, getting recommendations from Bree, from Jess, from Steph. Like, that's how I'm rolling right now. And I just saw the cover of this first one. Actually, I saw the covers of both of them and were like, they just look like they would be good. So the first one that I read was Desperate Measures by Katie Robert. And Desperate Measures is a daddy baby girl kink book, and it is a twist on the villains of Disney. My childhood was screwed. It was so screwed up, but it was so good. I enjoyed every single second of this book. I was blushing, I was fanning, I was like, oh my gosh. So this book is about Jasmine and Jafar. And Jasmine, it's set in modern times, and I think a lot of times they just are using, like Katie's just using the names of the characters because it's not really anything seriously reminiscent of the movies at all, but the names are enough to take you there. So Jasmine lives with, or she did live with, her father, who was clearly just an abusive man, did not respect Jasmine, didn't love her, didn't really care about her, put her in some really weird, tricky situations, and all of a sudden Jafar comes in and is supposed to be rescuing her, but not really. He's kind of like kidnapping her too and taking her under his control, and it's yeah, there's a lot that goes on. This is my first experience with consensual, non-consensual, and it was good. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. There were other characters that made appearances like Tink, Hook, Aladdin, Hades, Meg. There was just a lot. There's just so much. And I just don't even know what else to say. But just check it out if you haven't read it. It's 4 out of 5 stars. It was just so good. Alright, so the next one that I read after that, which was super, super dark. I just finished this one yesterday, and is The Dare by Harley LaRue. This book is not for everybody. Not for everybody at all. I definitely would recommend checking out the warnings that the author did give, and they are humiliation, fear play, pain play, knife play, CNC play, boot worship, crying, clowns, spit, bondage, public play, light blood play. So there's a lot that goes on in this book, and I was like, you know, these are things that I probably personally wouldn't do, but man, was it a good read. It was so good. I finished it like in an hour and a half. It was just So this is about Jess and Mason, and Jess is the typical high school cheerleader, post-grad, going to college, likes to party, live it up. And she had this thing with this guy named Mason, who she considered to be like a goth freak when they were in high school. And this is like post their graduation. They end up meeting at this party, and they end up playing beer pong, drink or dare. I think that's what it's called, y'all. I'm getting it confused because you either just take a regular drink if the ball lands in your cup, or if they shoot it into a cup that's labeled dare, you have to do the dare. So Mason starts giving her these dares, and some of them are really, really dark, and just realizes how much she likes it. What I loved about this book was the level of consent. It was just so much consent. Mason always asked, are you comfortable? If you're not comfortable, use your safe word. Are you sure this is okay, or is this too much? Like, I want to keep you safe, I want to keep you comfortable, and that just made it so much easier even for me to read. So I never felt like she was in like any type of precarious situation where he was going to harm her. I loved it. Not for everybody, y'all. I promise you, it is not for everybody. It will not be enjoyable for everybody. So take heed with those warnings, and if it's something that you think will be okay, dive into it. I did end up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, y'all, so those are the things that I've already finished for the month of May. So for the rest of May, I have some plans, which are some ridiculous plans. I actually wrote out this stupid, intense, this intense thing where I am looking at when I want to start books, when I want to finish them, and the number of pages I need to read each day. And the plan, not going to make sense to many, but it makes sense to me. And there are about 6-7 books here that I'm going to finish, physical books. This doesn't include any of my Marvel comics or anything that I read on Kindle Unlimited, or anything that I read just ebook, or whatever the case may be. This is just the physical books that I have that I plan on reading. The first is Conversations in Black by Ed Gordon. I'm reading about 40 pages of this a day. This is going to be finished probably the day after this video goes up because I'm currently 153 pages in it. So good. If you've never heard of it, y'all, please pick it up. It is so, so, so good. I am also currently reading Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. This is one that I am actually doing a reading vlog for, and I am 180 pages into this one, but I have my yellow tab here of how far I need to make it in by the end of today. So yeah, but I am annotating this one and doing a full reading vlog. In conjunction with that reading vlog, I'll also be reading Children of Virtue and Vengeance. So both of these will be finished by the 24th of this month, and I think my reading vlog will be slated to go up on the 25th. I also have plans to read Twilight. I'm not going to talk much about this. I have something going on with Twilight, but I think you guys might enjoy it. I also plan to read Black Girl Unlimited by Echo Brown, and to finish The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. I started this one, haven't finished it yet, but I am 71 pages into this one. And the last one that I plan on finishing this month is Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series, and there will be a full reading vlog for this one as well. I don't know if this one will go up by the end of the month. It may not go up until next month. But that is it, y'all. I do have a plan for finishing all of my issues for Marvel for 1963 and 1964. It is going to be a lot of work to get that done, but I have a full list and I'm hoping that everything goes well. I definitely will have recaps and updates for all that stuff. As always, if you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscription button, hit the bell for notification. Remember, I upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.